So if you're running on a treadmill right now, or maybe checking your email, or just listening to this deep dive while making lunch.
Which is probably a lot of people.
Right. Well, according to a forgotten 1981 pulp novel, you are legally dead. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, that is quite the diagnosis to lay on the listener right out of the gate.
It's intense.
It is, but the text absolutely backs it up.
It really does. Today, we're unpacking an artifact. And I say artifact because, just calling it a book doesn't quite do it justice.
No, definitely not.
We're looking at Nazrat, Dead or Alive. It's written by the highly elusive Pablo J. Kickashole and published by Tetragrammaton Press.
Which is a publishing house that, as far as literary history can tell, only ever produced this single volume before completely vanishing.
Gone without a trace. And, the backstory of how we even ended up with this book is crucial context here.
Right, because we didn't start with the book.
Exactly. We both actually saw the Nazrat movie first. We watched it, and we were just like, wow, what a phenomenal, gritty, sci-fi action flick.
Oh, yeah, the cyberpunk aesthetic was incredible, and the pacing was just great.
But the movie left so many weird, unanswered conceptual threads dangling. Like, we felt compelled to hunt down the original 1981 source material.
And just finding a physical copy of this thing was a challenge in itself, honestly.
Yeah, you had to dig for it.
I really did. But once we finally had this weathered $3.99 paperback in our hands, we realized the movie only scratched the absolute surface. The book it's something else entirely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why this text is so disruptive, we have to look at how it behaves. You open the cover, and it immediately refuses to act like fiction.
Right.
It reads more like an intercepted transmission, a live event. It's like finding a strange piece of hardware in your attic and accidentally turning it on.
That is a perfect analogy. And let's start with the physical object itself, because the visual presentation sets a really deliberate trap for the reader.
Oh, the cover art is amazing.
It is. If you look at the front cover, you see the classic wanted poster trope right there in the title, Nazrat, Dead or Alive.
Yeah, and below that, there's just this silhouette of a man in a leather jacket.
But the background?
The background is what gets me. It is split right down the middle. So on his left side, there's this glowing, neon-drenched, futuristic cityscape, helicopters circling, the whole deal.
Total cyberpunk trope.
Right. But then on his right side, it's a lush, vibrant jungle. Like there's a massive waterfall, a vividly colored macaw flying through the air.
Visually, it just screams classic pulp adventure.
Oh,
It deliberately evokes the visual language of stories like Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan, where a man achieves this kind of superiority by escaping the corrupted city and returning to raw nature.
right, returning to the wild.
Or even Michael Moorcock's Elric, which famously inverted the sort of muscular, heroic barbarism of Conan by making the hero a frail albino.
Sure.
But Kickashole isn't just flipping a genre convention here. He is attempting a far more radical operation. He's trying to invert our fundamental understanding of humanity itself.
Which brings us back to that wild hook about being legally dead on a treadmill.
Yes, exactly.
The title says Dead or Alive, but then the back cover explicitly tells you that your working definitions of those two words are completely wrong.
The exact phrasing on the back cover is really striking. It says, you think alive is movement. No, alive is coherence.
Wow.
And then the inverse of that is even harsher. He writes, you think death is stopping? No, death is fragmentation at speed.
See, so what does this all mean? Because that concept completely flips reality on its head.
It really does.
Society constantly tells us that being alive means being active, right? Doing 10 things at once, hustling, keeping your schedule packed.
Right, being productive.
Exactly. But it sounds like you could be jogging on a treadmill at 100 miles an hour, checking emails, totally in motion. But according to Kickashole, you're actually dead because you're just fragmenting at speed.
That's exactly his diagnosis. He sees that state not as life, but as a violent misalignment. And notice that he doesn't say modern technology or city life is inherently evil.
Which is a super common sci-fi trope.
Right, the evil city.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say that. He says humanity's relationship to it is misaligned.
Oh, I see.
There's another quote from the back cover that puts it perfectly. Humans, half in the machine, half in the dream, no full circuit closed.
Man. So without integration, you just have speed without direction.
Exactly.
So Kickashole tells us we're fragmenting. And I feel like the natural human response to a diagnosis like that is to look for a cure, right? You want the author to tell you how to achieve this coherence.
Of course you do.
But when you turn to chapter 1 looking for answers, the book actively refuses to hand them to you.
Well, because explaining coherence conceptually wouldn't work. The formatting of the book actually has to mirror the philosophy it's pushing.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the back cover actually warns the reader about the text inside. It says, spliced reels, damaged tape, playback unstable.
And he isn't kidding. I mean, chapter 1 isn't a narrative. You don't get once upon a time. It is an absolute assault of system diagnostics, overheard conversations, and just broken sentences.
Right, so Kickashole is employing what's known as the cut-up technique.
Oh, right.
The most famous practitioner of this was William S. Burroughs, who would literally take pages of typed text, cut them into quarters with scissors, and just completely rearrange them.
Wow, literally cutting them up.
Yeah, to destroy traditional syntax. Burroughs used that fragmentation to expose the underlying chaos and control structures of society.
But Kickashole uses it differently, right? He doesn't just want to show you the chaos. He uses these broken transmissions and philosophical bursts to actually train the reader into coherence.
Yes. Let me read a quick example from chapter 2, just so you can hear what this actually sounds like on the page.
Go for it.
Okay, quote. Subway hum stop, the neon bleeding into the retina, report filed under glass shattering. Where is the alignment?
See, when you first read that, it's just disorienting noise. It's like the author hands you a broken radio.
Right.
At first, it's just static and random violent images. But slowly, he teaches you how to tune the dial yourself until suddenly you hear the music.
That's a great way to put it. The human brain naturally wants to make sense of noise, right?
Yeah.
We are pattern-seeking machines.
Totally.
So by forcing you to fill in the gaps between those fragmented sentences, the author is making you practice internal coherence. The meaning isn't handed to you on the page.
It aligns inside the reader,
Exactly. You
Right.
actively work to connect the concepts.
like cognitive training.
It is. And that training is essential because the book is about to demand even more of you. As the physical structure of the text breaks down, the concept of the main character has to break down alongside it.
This was the most jarring part of the reading experience for me, especially having the movie fresh in my mind.
Oh, I bet.
Because in the movie, Nazrat is a guy with a gun. A very cool, competent guy, but definitely a guy. In the book, he starts out that way, but he does not stay that way.
Right. Early on, we do see him as a physical presence. He's moving through the city, what the text describes as subway tunnels humming like mechanical intestines.
Gross, but evocative.
Yeah, and he's surrounded by commuters with glazed eyes. He's physically feeling the misfire, the misalignment, the jitter, and the signal of the metropolis around him.
But then about midway through the book, he just stops being a physical person.
He becomes distributed.
Yeah.
There is this chilling internal report from whatever nameless authority is trying to track him down that reads, subject, Nazrat location, everywhere, no fixed position.
So creepy.
Right.
Could
He ceases to be a traditional hero. He becomes an influence without a source, a state of alignment that can actually occur within any human being.
Okay, wait, I have to play devil's advocate here, because as a reader, this feels structurally impossible. How does a story even work if the main character becomes basically Wi-Fi?
It's tough.
Right. Like, does the author just describe the weather? You can't have a car chase with an omnipresent pattern. Doesn't this destroy the whole concept of a protagonist?
It's a very fair question, and it's exactly why the book is so challenging to get through. You don't get chase scenes in the traditional sense anymore. The chase becomes conceptual.
Oh, I see.
The authorities in the book are trying to measure him, quantify him, and put him in a box. But Nazrat has been fundamentally redefined as this state of alignment.
So the narrative shifts from what is Nazrat doing right now to where is the Nazrat frequency showing up next?
Precisely. And this is why the institutions in the novel completely fail to catch him. Because institutions rely entirely on categories.
Right, they need paperwork.
Yeah, they need a target they can classify as a threat to neutralize it. But because Nazrat exists outside those categories, they literally cannot see him. They're looking for a guy, and he is a condition.
Which leads to what might be the most devastating line in the entire book. It's just a few words, but it basically recontextualizes the whole action genre. You wanted a hero too small.
Too small. It's such a profound critique. Kickashole is arguing that hero narratives actually delay human transformation.
How so?
Well, by centralizing power in one special individual, we externalize our own capacity for change. We say, this chosen one will solve the problem.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we love superheroes because they punch the bad guy so we can just go back to sleep.
Exactly.
But Nazrat is terrifying because he takes the superhero away and says, the capacity for transformation was never external. It's DIY salvation, and that means we actually have to do the work.
We have to do the work ourselves. And you can see how disruptive and weirdly attractive this idea was to the cultural thinkers of 1981 just by looking at the back cover blurbs.
Oh my gosh, the blurbs on this cheap pulp paperback are staggering.
They really are. You have Umberto Eco calling it a work of mystical transgression that defies reason and incites it.
Which makes perfect sense for Eco to say, right?
Yeah.
Because he was one of the most prominent semioticians of the 20th century.
Right, studying how humans use signs and language to construct meaning.
Yeah, so this book is basically a playground for that exact field of study.
Definitely. And then right below Eco is a guy named Umberto Zell, whose official title is listed as Magical Thinker and Future Archdruid of Earth.
Which, sure, we'll go with that.
Perfectly normal job title.
Totally. Zell says reading the book is like taking an acid test for the soul.
A very colorful, psychedelic way of describing the reconstructive nature of the cut-up technique.
But my absolute favorite is the final blurb. It's from Andrei Rusumov, better known to the world as Andre the Giant.
It is such a surreal inclusion for a literary experiment.
I know.
Yeah.
How does an 80s wrestling superstar end up blurbing an obscure piece of reality-bending fiction? But his blurb is incredible. It is just one word. Cut.
It's brilliant in its brevity, honestly. He isn't just praising the book. He's actively participating in its form. He's acknowledging the splice, the fragmentation of the medium itself.
So we have a book that rejects external saviors, actively breaks down its own text, and dissolves its main character into the atmosphere. The obvious question is, how on earth does it end?
Right.
There's no villain left to punch. There's no ticking time bomb to defuse.
It delivers an ending that is fundamentally not an ending. The narrative simply follows its own philosophy to its logical, dissolving conclusion. Nazrat just vanishes completely.
And the framing of that disappearance is what makes it so fascinating, because it isn't a tragic sacrifice. It's framed as a massive success.
Because his existence as a singular, separate entity is no longer necessary. Once he fully dissolves, we start seeing other people in the world of the novel exhibiting those exact same qualities of coherence.
And the text is careful to say this isn't just imitation, right?
Right. They aren't cosplaying as Nazrat. And it's not a cult. It is emergence.
It's like a construction site. Once the building can stand on its own, once the humans have achieved coherence, you don't leave the scaffolding up, you take it down. Nazrat was just the scaffolding.
That's a great metaphor. Nazrat was never the point. He was simply the demonstration of the pattern. Once the humans in the system achieved their own internal coherence, the demonstration wasn't needed anymore.
Which makes the book a kind of prototype myth.
Exactly. It's a blueprint for a new kind of storytelling where the hero has to dissolve for the reader to step up.
So looking at the big picture, what is the ultimate takeaway for us? I mean, we're living in an era that feels significantly more fragmented and accelerated than 1981 could have ever imagined.
Well, if we return to those classical adventure tropes we discussed earlier, like the Tarzan myth, the underlying promise was regression.
Right, escaping to the jungle.
Yeah, the idea that if the modern world gets too loud, too mechanical, we can just retreat to the wild, going backwards to something simpler. But Nazrat suggests the next frontier isn't out there in the wild. It's inside the human system itself. We have to evolve through the fragmentation to reach coherence.
Wow. And that leaves us with one final, deeply unsettling thought for you to chew on.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if Pablo J. Kickashole's work isn't just a physical paperback, but a transmission meant to train the reader into coherence,
Okay.
and if Nazrat isn't a man, but a distributed echo across human receivers, then think about what just happened here.
The act of decoding.
Yes, by seeking out this deep dive, sitting here with us and successfully assembling these fragmented concepts in your own mind, haven't you just downloaded the transmission?
Oh, I love that.
Maybe Nazrat isn't just a book or a movie.